Hello students, today we will learn about downstream processing. Details about downstream processing. As the fermentation is complete, it is necessary to recover the desired end product. The end products include antibiotics, amino acids, vitamins, organic acids, industrial enzymes, and vaccines. The extraction and purification of a biotechnological product from fermentation is referred to as downstream processing or product recovery. DSP, downstream processing in short, DSP is a complex and important as fermentation process. It often requires the expertise and technical skills of chemists, process engineering besides bioscientists. In the present day, biotechnology, the fermentation and downstream processing are considered as an integrated system. Methodology adopted for downstream processing depends on the nature of the end product, its concentration, stability, and the degree of purification required, besides the presence of other products. The product recovery yield in general is expected to be higher if the number of steps is DSP in DSP is lower. The desired products for isolation DSP are most frequently metabolites which may be present like first point is intracellular metabolites. These products are located within the cells, example vitamins, enzymes. Second is extracellular metabolites. They are present outside the cells, culture fluids, example most antibiotics like penicillin, streptomycin, etc., amino acids, alcohol, citric acid, some enzymes like amylase, proteases, both intracellular and extracellular, example vitamin B12, flavomycin. Sometimes the microorganisms may itself be the desired end product for isolation. Example single cell protein. The product recovery as a biomass is simpler. When subjected to heat, the cells aggregate and form clamps which can be separated by sedimentation. Now let's know about stages in downstream processing. Downstream processing of metabolites is a multi-stage operation and may be broadly divided into some stages. Let's know about the stages. First stage is solid liquid separation. Second is release of intracellular products. Third is concentration. Fourth is purification. Fifth is formulation. Now let's know about solid liquid separation. The first step in product recovery is the separation of whole cell, that is cell biomass, and other insoluble ingredients from the culture broth. Now let's know about the several methods used in solid liquid separation. There are some methods. First method is flotation, flocculation, filtration, and centrifugation. First is flotation. Let's know about the stage flotation. When a gas is introduced into the liquid broth, it forms bubbles. The cells and other solid particles get absorbed on gas bubbles. These bubbles rise to the foam layer which can be collected and removed. The presence of certain substances referred to as collector substance facilitates stable foam formation. Example long chain fatty acids and amino acid and amines. Now let's know about flocculation. In flocculation, the cells or the debris form the large aggregates to settle down for easy removal. The process of flocculation depends on the nature of cells and ionic constituents of the medium. Addition of flocculating agents, organic polyelectrolytes, mineral hydrocolloids is often necessary to achieve appropriate flocculation. Now let's know about filtration. Filtration is the most commonly used technique for separating the biomass and culture filtrate. The efficiency of filtration depends on many factors: the size of the organism, presence of other organisms, viscosity of the medium, and the temperature. Several filters, such as depth filters, absolute filters, rotary drum vacuum filters, and membrane filters, are in use. Now let's know about depth filters. They are composed of a filamentous matrix such as glass wool, asbestos, or filter paper. The particles are trapped within the matrix and fluid passes out. Filamentous fungi can be removed by using depth filters. Now let's know about absolute filters. These filters are with specific pore sizes that are smaller than the particles to be removed. Bacteria from culture medium can be removed by absolute filters. Now let's know about rotary drum vacuum filters. These filters are frequently used for separation of broth containing 10 to 40% solids and particles in the size of 0.5 to 10 micrometer. Rotary drum vacuum filters have been successfully used for filtration of yeast cells and filamentous fungi. The equipment is simple with low power consumption and is easy to operate. The filtration unit consists of a rotating drum partially immersed in a tank of broth. As the drum rotates, it picks up the biomass which gets deposited as a cake on the drum surface. This filter cake can be easily removed. Now let's know about membrane filters. In this type of filtration, membranes with specific pore sizes can be used. However, clogging of filters is a major limitation. There are two types of filtrations: static filtration and cross-flow filtration. In cross-flow filtration, the culture broth is pumped in a crosswise fashion across the membrane. This reduces clogging process and hence better than the static filtration. Now let's know about the types of filtration processes. There are three major types of filtrations based on the particle size and other characteristics. They are microfilament microfiltration, ultrafiltration, and reverse osmosis. Now first is centrifugation. Let's know about centrifugation. The technique of centrifugation is based on the principle of density differences between the particles to be separated and the medium. Thus, centrifugation is mostly used for the separating solid particles from liquid phases. Unlike the centrifugation that is conveniently carried out in the laboratory scale, there are certain limitations for large-scale industrial centrifugation. However, in recent years, continuous flow industrial centrifuges have been developed. There is a continuous feeding of the slurry and collection of clarified fluid, while the solid deposited can be removed intermittently. Now let's know about tubular bowel centrifuge. This is a simple and a small centrifuge commonly used in pilot plants. Tubular bowel centrifuge can be operated at a high centrifugal speed and can be run in both batch or continuous mode. The solids are removed manually. Now let's know about disc centrifuge. It consists of several discs that separate the bowel into settling zone. The feed or slurry is fed through a central tube. The clarified fluid moves upward while the solids settle at the lower surface. Now let's know about multi-chamber centrifuge. This is basically a modification of tubular bowel type of centrifuge. It consists of several chambers connected in such a way that the feed flows in a zigzag fashion. There is a variation in the centrifugal force in different chambers. The force is much higher in the periphery chambers. As a result, smallest particles settle down in the outermost chamber. Now let's know about scroll centrifuge or decenter. It is composed of a rotating horizontal bowel tapered at one end. The Decanter is generally used to concentrate fluid with high solid concentration. The solids are deposited on the wall of the bowel, which can be scraped and removed from the narrow end. Now let's know about release of intracellular products. There are several biotechnological products like vitamins, enzymes which are located within the cells. Such compounds have to be first released maximally and in an active form for their further processing and final isolation. The microorganisms or other cells can be disintegrated or disrupted by physical, chemical, or enzymatic methods. The outline of different techniques used for breakage of cells we will discuss. The selection of a particular the selection of a particular method depends on the nature of the cells since there is a wide variation in the property of cell disruption or breakage. For instance, gram-negative bacteria and filamentous fungi can be more easily broken compared to gram-positive bacteria and yeast. Now let's know about cell disruption. Physical methods of cell disruption. Let's know about the physical methods of cell disruption. The microorganisms of cells can be disrupted by certain physical methods to release the intracellular products. First is ultrasonication. Ultrasonication disintegration is widely employed in the laboratory. However, due to high cost, it is not suitable for large scale use in industries. Now, let's know about osmotic shock. This method involves the suspension of cells in 20% buffered crores. The cells are then transferred to water at about 4 degrees centigrade. Osmotic shock is used for the release of hydrolytic enzymes and binding proteins from gram negative bacteria. Now let's know about heat shock, that is thermolysis. Breakage of cells by subjecting them to heat is relatively easy and cheap, but this technique can be used only for a very few heat stable intracellular products. Now let's know about high pressure homogenization. This technique involves forcing of cell suspension at high pressure through a very narrow orifice to come out to atmospheric pressure. This sudden release of high pressure creates a liquid shear that can break the cells. Now let's know about impingement. In this procedure, a stream of suspended cells at high velocity and pressure are forced to hit either a stationary surface or a second stream of suspended cells. The cells are disrupted by the forces created at the point of contact. Microfluidizer is a developed based on the principle of impingements. It has been successfully used for breaking E. coli cells. The advantage with impingement technique is that it can be effectively used for disrupting cells even at a low concentration. Grinding with glass beads. The cells mixed with the glass beads are subjected to a very high speed in a reaction vessel. The cells break as they are forced against the wall of the vessel by the beads. Several factors influence the cell breakage size and quantity of glass beads, concentration and age of cells, temperature and agitation speed. Under optimal conditions, one can expect a maximal breakage of about 80% of the cells. It contains a cylindrical body with an inlet, outlet, and a central motor driven shaft. To this shaft are fitted radial agitators. The cylinder is fitted with glass beads. The cell suspension is added through the inlet and the disrupted cells come out through the outlet. The body of the cell disruptor is kept cool while the operation is on. Now let's know about mechanical and non-mechanical methods. Among the physical methods of disruption, till now we discussed ultrasonication and high pressure homogenization, impig- impigmented, in, in, impigmentation and grinding with glass beads are mechanical, while osmotic shock and heat shocks are non-mechanical. The chemical and enzymatic methods are non-mechanical in nature. Now let's know about the chemical methods of cell disruption. Treatment with alkalis, organic solvents and detergents can lyse the cells to release the contents. Now let's know about alkalis. Alkali treatment has been used for the extraction of some bacterial proteins. However, the alkali stability of the desired product is very crucial for success of this method. Example, recombinant growth hormone can be efficiently released from E. coli by treatment with sodium hydroxide at pH 11. Organic solvents. Let's know about organic solvents. Several water miscible organic solvents can be used to disrupt the cells. Example, methanol, ethanol, isopropanol, butanol. These compounds are inflammable, hence require specialized equipment for fire safety. The organic solvent toluene is frequently used. It is believed that toluene dissolves membrane phospholipids and creates membrane pores for release of intracellular contents. Now let's know about detergents. Detergents that are ionic in nature, cationic, cetyl, trimethyl ammonium bromide, or anionic sodium lauryl sulfate can denature membrane proteins and lyse the cells. Non-ionic detergents are also used to some extent. Example, Triton, X100 or Twin. The problem with the use of detergents is that the effect purification steps, particularly the salt precipitation. This limitation can be overcome by using ultrafiltration or ion exchange chromatography for purification. Now let's know about enzymatic methods of cell disruption. Cell disruption by enzymatic methods has certain advantages, that is lysis of cells occurs under mild conditions in a selective manner. This is quite advantageous for product recovery. Lysozyme is the most frequently used enzyme and is commercially available. It hydrolyzes beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds of the mucopeptide in bacterial cell walls. The gram-positive bacteria are more susceptible for the action of lysozymes. For gram-negative bacteria, lysozyme in association with EDTA can break the cells. As the cell wall gets digested by lysozyme, the osmotic effect break the periplasmic membrane to release the intracellular contents. Certain other enzymes are also used, although less frequently, for cell disruption. For the lysis of yeast, cell walls, glucanase and mannase in combination with proteases are used. Let's know about the combination of methods. In order to increase the efficiency of cell disintegration in the cost-effective manner, a combination of physical, chemical, and enzymatic methods is employed. Now let's know about concentration. The the filtrate that is free from suspended particles, cell debris, etc., usually contains 80 to 98% of water. The desired product is a very minor constituent. The water has to be removed to achieve the product concentration. The commonly used technique for concentrating biological products are evaporation, liquid-liquid extraction, membrane filtration, precipitation, and adsorption. The actual procedure adopted depends on the nature of the desired product and the cost factor. Now let's know about evaporation. Water in the broth, water in the broth filtrate can be removed by a simple evaporation process. The evaporators in general have a heating device for supply of steam and unit for the separation of concentrated product and vapor. A condenser for condensing vapor and vapor. A condenser for the condensing vapor accessories and control equipment. The capacity of the equipment is variable that may range from the small laboratory scale to industrial scale. Some of the important types of evaporators in common use we will now discuss. Now let's know about plate evaporators. The liquid to be concentrated flows over plates. As the steam is supplied, the liquid gets concentrated and becomes viscous. Now let's know about falling film evaporators. In this case, the liquid flows down long tubes which gets distributed as a thin film over the heating surface. Falling film evaporators are suitable for removing water from viscous products of fermentation. Now let's know about forced film evaporators. The liquid films are mechanically driven and these devices are suitable for producing dry product concentrates. Now let's know about centrifugal forced film evaporators. These equipment evaporate the liquid very quickly, hence suitable for concentrating even heat labile substances. In these evaporators, a centrifugal force is used to pass on the liquid over heated plates or conical surfaces for instantaneous evaporation. Now let's know about the liquid extraction. The concentration of biological products can be achieved by transferring the desired product from one liquid phase to another liquid phase, a phenomenon referred to as liquid-liquid extraction. Besides concentration, this technique is also useful for partial purification of a product. The efficiency of extraction is dependent on the partial partition coefficient, that is the relative distribution of a substance between the two liquid phases. The process of liquid-liquid extraction may be broadly categorized as extraction of low molecular weight products and extraction of high molecular weight products. Now let's know about the extraction of low molecular weights products. By using organic solvents, the Liphophilic compounds can be conveniently extracted. However, it is quite difficult to extract hydrophilic compounds. Extraction of lipophilic products can be done by some techniques. Let's know about these techniques. First is physical extraction. The compound gets itself distributed between two liquid phases based on the physical properties. This technique is used for the extraction of non-ionizing compounds. Dissociation extraction. Second is dissociation extraction. This technique is suitable for the extraction of ionizable compounds. Certain antibiotics can be extracted by this procedure. Now, next is reactive extraction. In this case, the desired product is made to react with a carrier molecule. Example, phosphorus compound or aliphatic amine and extracted into organic solvent. Now let's know now reactive extraction procedure is quite useful for the extraction of certain compounds that are highly soluble in water. Example, organic acids. Now let's know about SCF extraction. That means supercritical fluid extraction. This technique differs from the from this we till now we discussed the procedures since the materials used for extraction are supercritical fluids. SCFs. SCFs are intermediates between gases and liquids and exit as fluids above their critical temperature and pressure. Supercritical carbon dioxide with a low critical temperature and pressure is commonly used in the extraction. Supercritical fluid extraction is rather expensive, hence not widely used. Now let's know about the extraction of high molecular weight compounds. Proteins are the most predominant high molecular weight products produced in fermentation industries. Organic solvents cannot be used for protein extraction as they lost their biological activities. They are extracted by using an aqueous two-phase systems or reverse mycelial formation. Now let's know about ATPs, aqueous, that is aqueous two-phase systems. They can be prepared by mixing a polymer, example polyethylene glycol and a salt solution, ammonium sulfate, or two different polymers. Water is the main components in ATPs, but the two phases are not miscible. Cells and other solids remain in one phase while the proteins are transferred to other phase. The distribution of the desired product is based on its surface and ionic character and the nature of phases. The separation takes much longer time by ATPs. Now let's know about reverse micellar systems. Reverse micelles are stable aggregates or surfactant molecules and water in the inorganic solvents. The proteins can be extracted from the aqueous medium by forming reverse micelles. In fact, the enzymes can be extracted by this procedure without loss of biological activity. Now let's know about membrane filtration. Membrane filtration has become a common separation technique in industrial biotechnology. It can be conveniently used for the separation of biomolecules and particles and for the concentration of fluids. The membrane filtration technique basically involves the use of the semi-permeable membrane that selectively retain the particles or molecules that are bigger than the pore size while the smaller molecules pass through the membrane pores. Now let's know about the membranes used in filtration are made of polymeric materials such as polyether sulfone and the polyvinyl difluoride. It is rather difficult to sterilize membrane filters. In recent years, microfilters and the ultrafilters composed of ceramics and steel are available. Cleaning and sterilization of such filters are easy. Filtration techniques, namely microfiltration, ultrafiltration, and hyperfiltrations. Till now we discussed. Next is we will discuss about membrane adsorption. What do you mean by membrane adsorber? They are micro or macroporous membranes with ion exchange groups and affinity ligands. Membrane adsorbers can bind to proteins and retain them. Such proteins can be eluted by employing solution in chromatography. For pervaporation. Let's know about the technique pervaporation. This is a technique in which volatile products can be separated by a process of permeation through a membrane coupled with evaporation. Pervaporation is quite useful for the extraction, recovery, and concentration of volatile products. However, this procedure has a limitation since it cannot be used for large-scale separation of volatile products due to cost factor. Now, let's know about perstruction. This is an advanced technique working on the principle of membrane filtration coupled with solvent extraction. The hydrophobic compounds can be recovered or concentrated by this method. Now let's know about precipitation. Precipitation is the most commonly used technique in industry for the concentration of macromolecules such as proteins and polysaccharides. Further precipitation technique can also be employed for the removal of certain unwanted byproducts. Example, nucleic acids, pigments, new, uh, neutral salts, organic solvents, high molecular weight polymers. Besides, alterations in temperature and pH are used in precipitation. In addition to these non-specific protein precipitation reactions, there are some protein specific precipitations, example affinity precipitation, ligand precipitation. Now let's know about neutral salts. The most commonly used salt is ammonium sulfate. since it is highly soluble, non toxic to proteins, and low priced. Ammonium sulfate increases hydrophobic interactions between protein molecules and that result in their precipitation. The precipitation of proteins is dependent on several factors such as protein concentration, pH, and temperature. Organic solvent. Let's know about the organic solvents. Ethanol, acetone, and propanol are the commonly used organic solvents for protein precipitation. They reduce the dielectric constant of the medium and enhance electrostatic interaction between protein molecules and that leads to precipitation. Since proteins are denatured by organic solvents, the precipitation process has to be carried out below 0 degree centigrade. Now let's know about non-ionic polymers. Pl- Polyethylene glycol, that is in short PEG, is a high molecular weight non-ionic polymer that can precipitate proteins. It reduces the quantity of water available for protein solvation and precipitates protein. PEG does not denature proteins besides being non-toxic. Ionic polymers, the polymers such as polyacrylic acid and polyethylene imine are used. They form complexes with oppositely charged protein molecules that causes charge neutralization and precipitation. Increase in temperature. The heat sensitive proteins can be precipitated by increasing the temperature. Now let's know about the change in temperature. Alterations in pH can also lead to protein precipitation. Now let's know about affinity precipitation. The affinity interaction example between antigen and antibody is exploited for precipitation of proteins. Now let's know about participation by ligands. Ligands with specific binding sites for proteins have been successfully used for selective precipitation. Now let's know about adsorption. The biological products of fermentation can be concentrated by using solid absorbent particles. In the early days, activated charcoal was used as the adsorbent material. In recent years, cellulose-based adsorbents are employed for protein concentration and for concentration of low molecular weight compounds, that is vitamins, antibiotics, peptides, polystyrene, methacrylate, and acrylate based matrices are used. The process of adsorption can be carried out by making a bed of adsorbent column and passing the culture broth through it. The desired product held by the adsorbent can be eluted. Now let's know about the purification by chromatography. The biological products of fermentation, that is proteins, pharmaceuticals, diagnostic compounds and research materials are very effectively purified by chromatography. It is basically an analytical technique dealing with the separation of closely related compounds from the mixture. Chromatography usually consists of a stationary phase and mobile phase. The stationary phase is the porous solid matrix packed in a column on which the mixture of compounds to be separated to loaded. The compounds are eluted by a mobile phase. A single mobile phase may be used continuously or it may be changed appropriately to facilitate the release of desired compounds. The elute from column can be monitored continuously. Example, protein elution can be monitored by ultraviolet absorption at 280 nanometer and collected in fractions of definite volumes. The different types of chromatography techniques used for separation, mainly proteins along with principles we'll discuss. A large number of matrices are commercially available for purification of proteins. Example, agarose, cellulose, polyacrylamide, porous silica, cross-linked dextran, polystyrene. Now let's know about the gel filtration chromatography. This is also referred to as size exclusion chromatography. In this technique, the separation of molecules is based on the size, shape, and molecular weight. The spongy like gel beds with pores serve as molecular sieves for separation of smaller and bigger molecules. A solution mixture containing molecules of different sizes is applied to column and eluted. The smaller molecules enter the gel beds through their pores, get trapped. On the other hand, the large molecules cannot pass through the pores and therefore come out first with the mobile liquid. At the industrial scale, gel filtration is particularly useful to remove salts and low molecular weight compounds from high molecular weight products. Now let's know about the ion exchange chromatography. It involves the separation of molecules based on their surface charges. Ion exchangers are of two types: cation exchanger, which have negatively charged groups like carboxymethyl and sulfonate, and anion exchangers with positively charged groups like diethyl aminoethyl DEA. The most commonly used cation exchangers are DOX, HCr, and Umberlite IR. The anion exchangers are DOR, SAR, and Umberlite IRA. The ion exchange chromatography. In ion exchange chromatography, the pH of the medium is very crucial since the net charge varies with pH. In other words, the pH determines the effective charge on both the target molecule and the ion exchanger. The ionic bound molecules can be eluted from the matrix by changing the pH of the eluent or by increasing the concentration of salt solution. Ion exchange chromatography is useful for the purification of antibiotics besides the purification of proteins. Affinity chromatography. Let's know about the affinity chromatography. This is an elegant method for the purification of proteins from a complex mixture. Affinity chromatography is based on an interaction of a protein with an immobilized ligand. The ligand can be a specific antibody, substrate analog, or an inhibitor. The immobilized ligand on a solid matrix can be effectively used to fish out complementary structures. Some examples of ligands used for the purification of proteins are now discussed. The protein bound to be the protein bound to the ligand can be eluted by reducing their interaction. This can be achieved by changing the pH of buffer, altering the ion strength, or by using another free ligand molecule. The fresh ligand used has to be removed in the subsequent steps. Hydrophobic interaction chromatography. Let's know about HIC, that means hydrophobic interaction chromatography. This is based on the principle of weak hydrophobic interactions between the hydrophobic ligands, that is alkyl aryl site changes on matrix, and the hydrophobic amino acids of proteins. The differences in the composition of hydrophobic amino acids in proteins can be used for their separation. The elution of proteins can be done by lowering the salt concentration, decreasing the polarity of the medium, or reducing the temperature. Now let's know about the formulation. Formulation broadly refers to the maintenance of activity and stability of a biotechnological products during storage and distribution. The formulation of low molecular weight products, that is solvents or organic acids, can be achieved by concentrating them with removal of can be achieved by concentration them concentrating them with removal of most of the water. For certain small molecules, antibiotics, citric acid formulation can be done by crystallization by adding salts. Proteins are highly susceptible for loss of biological activity, hence their formulation requires special care. Certain stabilizing additives are added to prolong the shelf life of protein. The stabilizers of protein formulation include sugars, sucrose, lactose, salt, that is sodium chloride, ammonium sulfate, polymers that like polyethylene glycol and polyhydric alcohol, that is glycerol. Proteins may be formulated in the form of solutions, suspensions or dry powders. Now let's know about drying. Drying is an essential component of product formulation. It basically involves the transfer of heat to a wet product for removal of moisture. Most of the biological products of fermentation are sensitive to heat and therefore require gentle drying methods. Besides, based on the method of heat transfer, drying devices may be categorized as contact, convection, radiation dryer. These three types of dryers are commercially available. Spraying drying, spray drying. Spray drying is used for drying large volumes of liquids. In spray drying, small droplets of liquid containing the products are passed through a nozzle, directing it over a stream of hot gas. The water evaporates and the solid particles are left behind. Now let's know about freeze drying. Freeze drying or lyophilization is the most preferred method for drying and formulation of a wide range of products, pharmaceuticals, foodstuffs, diagnostics, bacteria, viruses. This is mainly because freeze drying usually does not cause loss of biological activity of the desired product. Now let's know about lyophilization. Lyophilization is based on the principle of sublimation of a liquid from a frozen state. In the actual technique, the liquid containing the product are frozen and then dried in a freeze dryer under vacuum. The vacuum can now be released and the product containing vial can be sealed. Example, penicillin can be freeze dried directly in ampoules. Now let's know about integration of different processes. It is ideal to integrate the fermentation and downstream processing to finally get the desired product. However, this has been practicable for various reasons. Integration of certain stages in downstream processing for purification of product has met with some success. For instance, protein concentration by extraction into two-phase systems combined with clarification and purification can be done together. Finally, finished. Downstream processing is finished. Any questions regarding this, you can ask me in the comment box. I will definitely answer the question. And please subscribe my channel. Thank you.